Marvel used to always do these drawings, just crazy realistic drawings of this wildlife, like the ox, rabbits, cows, just all kinds of different animals that we would see in the country, when we were plowing the fields and stuff like that. And I would see him sit up and draw all the time. I think I was about maybe 3 years old at the time. And I would watch it. I remember watching him all the time. And finally, when I turned 5, I started scribbling on his papers, which obviously got me in trouble. And this one instant that really got me started is he was doing this drawing of a rabbit, beautiful drawing of a rabbit. And I thought it was so real, just like it was going to jump off the paper. And I was 5 years old at that time, and I think he set me up because when he was doing the drawing, he purposely completed everything on that rabbit, and it looked so real, except that one leg that when the rabbit is running, but the rabbit didn't have a leg to help him jump off the ground on the picture. And it was just punishing me that he walked out of the room and didn't finish the leg on that rabbit. And so I sat there and I was going back and forth, and I'd peek around the corner, I'd look at that leg that's just missing on that rabbit. I stepped in the room and I grabbed his pencil and I began to, as crass as the leg was for the poor rabbit, I felt better because I felt like I was helping that rabbit. So he said, son, if you want to learn how to draw, man, all you have to do is just tell me, And he started to sit down with me and show me a few things here and there. And of course, my grandmother was always buying me, coloring books, tracing paper and all this kind of stuff. And I would put the tracing paper over different images and I would go over it with my hand. And eventually, when I turned about 6 or 7, I was drawing characters like Heathcliff and Garfield. And when I was in the 3rd grade, I remember making 50 cents, 75 cents, even $1 before lunchtime. And I was making stuff out of clay and clothespins, and my grandmother would be hanging clothes outside. I'd run, and after she'd go in the house and snatch a couple of them clothespins and take them down and make little people out of them, put little capes on. Oh, man.
Yeah, I'm basically learning from my dad. He don't really tell me a few things. I used to watch him make animations. That's how I think I was like 4 or 5. Yeah, that was the time I was like in kindergarten and stuff like that when I've been watching him do stuff. So I've been asking him if he can teach me some stuff as an artist to grow up to what artists are meant to be, so I can grow up and and learn from it.
One of my uncles was the artist, and then another one of my uncles was the patron. Oh man, he was quite the athlete, man. Star point guard with the high school. They had 7 state titles, when I was growing up. So he was always on television, always doing it. But one thing he was a fan of more so than basketball, and I think he was like top 3 in the state of Texas, as a point guard. But he was even a larger fan of art than he was sports. And I remember as a kid going into his room also, and I would see stacks of comic books taller than I was, and I was like, whoa, looking at all different types of stuff because, I was learning from my other uncle, with the drawing, but I got the inspiration for the culture from his brother, who was the athlete / comic book fan. He had collector's items that were still sealed in the package with the gold stamp on it. And man, I was just going through I was in heaven because when I would go into his room, I just saw stuff everywhere. He would get on me sometimes, but then after a while, when he saw I was such a big fan of it, he just, all right, go ahead and have that. Basketball is my thing anyway. But he had all these stories he would tell me about this character and that character, the way the storylines would be composed in each book. And it's like I would just, listening to his stories, I would just go into a different universe.
Right.
And from that point on, we would sit down and we would watch movies, comic book movies, different types of cartoons. He was a really big fan of cartoons and stuff like that. And he would love my son. I think my son is in some ways a reincarnation of him because everything that my son embodies is what my uncle lived by, culturally. He was all about the story, the creative story. And so anything that was composed of the imagination, he lived by that. And that's why I got a great deal of my inspiration came from those two guys. And, actually, growing up, under them, they taught me the value of having a relationship, with your kids in this aspect, with my sons, because the relationship they had with me, I wanted to make sure to pass that on in the event that I had sons. I felt that it was important for me not to be detached to a point to where, there's no bond.